give us some insight into what's the lifestyle like within the Silver Legion?
Yeah, within the Silver Legion, we have our own realm, and it is a spirit realm, not a dimensional realm. And spirit realms, in a nutshell, are rather like what the astral plane is, the dream realm and stuff are for the third dimension. Every dimension has its own corresponding spirit realm. And we're residing in there, in a realm within the spirit realm, which we created ourselves using our own energy out of the chaos that comprises basic creation that hasn't discovered itself yet. And we basically have our own little world there. On it, we have our sun. We created a sun because most of us like the sun. We have living things, plants, green and other colors. We have living space where people can go and live and have their own private quarters, which they can design to their preference.
How do they design that?
Yes, it's a matter of manifesting. It's a matter of wanting something and bringing it into being. Now, the Silver Legion's realm it's owned by us. So another person can't come in, an outsider can't come in and modify our realm without our consent. But Silver Legionnaires are permitted to take their own personal space and modify it however they want. So there is a degree of consensus reality there.
Right. How do y'all interact with each other? What is recreation like within the Silver Legion in that spiritual realm? What do they do for fun or games and things of that nature? Just help us understand, how that comes about.
Some of it would be very, very familiar to Earth humans. There's a lot of love for sports, and both cooperative and competitive. There's a lot of martial arts training, which we also find to be fun, and martial arts contests. We like to play games, whether they're, games using materials that we then manifest, such as chess or Go, or other board games and card games. We've observed games played on other planets as well as this planet and copied some of them. We've used our stimulator to create artificial reality games, sometimes based off of video games that we see here, because we watch what people on Earth do, and sometimes we see things here and we say, hey, that looks like fun. Why don't we see if we can do something like that here? And like I said, there's people playing board games too, because we love to interact with each other. There's also places where people can go and eat food. Now, please note, eating food is not necessary, but most of us enjoy the ritual. And when we talk about food, we're not talking about an animal that has been killed. We're not talking about a plant that has been killed. We're talking about energy that has been manifested in a specific form to resemble and taste like and feel like food that people are familiar with. Okay. And so eating food with each other is a ritual that we often partake in because it's a wonderful social thing. And it's a great way to find out how other species eat. It's a wonderful way to interact and be social and be hospitable towards each other. We also like to sit around and talk with each other, and these being warriors, a lot of that is bragging or reminiscing over past events that we've done.
Right.
And there's also the arena, which is a simulation in which people can go inside, and while they're inside, they experience it as though they are real, and they can fight with each other, or they can try things that they might not be safe to try in other situations because risk to themselves or risk to bystanders or whatever. They can do whatever the heck they want in the arena without hurting themselves or anyone else, and it is quite possibly our most beloved feature. Yes, and there's room for observers to watch, and we have more than one. We call it the arena, but there's actually as many as we need at any particular time. So there's no lineup to get in.
What do you look like in your human form, and what do you look like in your Silver Legion form?
As for my physical appearance, well, I'm a little shy about it because I, like a lot of people on this planet, I'm suffering from
the accumulated years of toxins and poisons.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I have a glandular problem on top of that. Like my thyroid does not work. In fact, I may have to have it removed soon.
Wow.
But I am a larger girl, and I'm Caucasian. I'm a Euro mutt. Quite mixed ancestry, mostly Northern European. But I have, well, it used to be blonde hair, now it's going white. Quite a bit white. And I have kind of mucky grayish eyes.
That's so cool.
That's really cool.
That's now. Are you in your Silver Legion life? You said something about a dragon. So is that what you would like? If we saw you in your Silver Legion life, would you look like a dragon?
My dragon form is not always like, I don't know, a lot of infrastructure and stuff is designed around bipedal humanoids under a certain size. So it's fortunate that I have the ability to take whatever shape I want. And I usually adopt a humanoid shape when I'm talking to other humans. Because, number one, it puts them at ease, and number two, it kind of gets rid of the little, like, it obviates the problem of where am I going to put my giant dragon butt.
Gotcha.
You know, because as a dragon, I'm more long than I am tall. I don't walk on 2 feet. I walk on 4. And I've got 3 pairs of wings and 2 tails, and I'm a very shiny white metal.
How cool.
Oh, that's so cool. What language do you speak, I guess? Like, or is it a whole different language? Or
Up there, I speak Druach. But for the most part, people are telepathic.
Gotcha.
When you think about the story of the Tower of Babel, the Tower of Babel includes before it was constructed, everybody understood each other. But afterwards, all of a sudden, everybody was speaking different languages.
Yeah.
What actually happened was everybody was always speaking different languages, but because we had basically telepathic ability to understand other languages without actually having to understand, speak the language ourselves, everybody basically was able to communicate. What happened was that ability was taken away from us. And all of a sudden we had all these languages that no one could understand anymore. Up there, that ability is still present. So most people will be able to speak and understand each other. And if they don't share a language in common, they'll at least be able to understand each other telepathically, or at least get the gist of what each other is saying.
Gotcha.
People still do learn other languages, but it's not as difficult as it is here. Like down here, learning a language fluently is a matter of years of study and practice. But up there, you can learn a language fluently in 3 days.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
And most people can learn, hundreds of languages if they really want to. There's no limit. There's no capacity barrier on how many you can learn. You can learn as many as you want.
Tanaath, in this segment of the show, we want to get into how do they communicate amongst each other within the Silver Legion, because you do have so many different factions that make up the Silver Legion.
Honestly, we use mostly telepathy, and this because largely we come from so many different worlds and universes and environments that there is no common language. What will happen is they will speak with their mouths and sounds will come out, but what you will perceive is according to the words of your own language.
Wow.
And sometimes you'll catch emotions, we'll send emotions to each other, we'll send what are called thought forms, which is ideas packaged in a single thought, which you hand over and they're there in their entirety, and it's sort of, aha. And mental images and ideas and concepts, we pass them around using thought forms, and things that we just want others to understand. So it does make for fairly clear communication.
And let me ask this question, because in my understanding of the spiritual realm, all thoughts are known. So how do you keep your thoughts private, or is that possible?
It's possible. It takes practice. It takes mental discipline. There is also there are several layers to a person's mind. There is the outside layer, which is public and more or less accessible. And when we talk about all thoughts being known, we're talking about that. But there are smaller layers within your mind, lower layers that are private, and somebody actually has to come in and with or without your consent. If it's a hostile act without your consent, that is generally frowned upon severely. With your consent, in say, for instance, if you were receiving a healing and there's a mental aspect of that healing, then there might be that kind of contact. But in general, telepathy is different from mind reading.
Okay.
Which is what you might be thinking of when you're thinking of your thoughts are accessible to everybody else.
And telepathy is kind of what we use to give people an example, because we, like myself, we are 3D humans. So a lot of times, this type of this information that we're learning about today, when you're trying to put it in 3D terms, or terms that incarnated humans can understand, it makes it very difficult, because this is the way that we think. We think in terms of our thoughts being accessible on the spiritual plane. In addition to that, like you said, telepathy is what we use more or less in the dream state. Is that not correct, when we're communicating?
It is. That's what we use, and that's why you can talk to, for instance, ghosts who might have spoke other languages in their life and whatnot. It's telepathy, and it's different from what people assume. 3D telepathy is not a matter of voices in your head. You provide the words. The other entities provide ideas. And then it's up to your mind to make those into words that you can understand. And that can sometimes make things difficult when you start discussing concepts that the 3D you has absolutely no experience with. Right. But eventually, through the use of symbol language, we can usually get the point across.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about. And the other thing too that I was thinking is that in the spiritual realm, they're on a whole nother level of thinking, a whole nother level of caring. So whereas we in the 3D would think of it as being invasive, or somebody trying to invade your mind and read your thoughts, or like you say, it would be a severe act to do that, to invade your personal thought. Whereas in that spiritual realm, there's a lot more loving and caring, and the thought processes, I would assume, are a lot different than what we have, because on Earth, we're mainly, basically, we're into survival. We're in a survival mode pretty much all the time. So a lot of our attention, a lot of our thoughts are based in survival, protectionism, roof over our head, food on the table, how do we get the next dollar? That's where most of our thoughts are rooted in, is maintaining a particular lifestyle. And that's why a lot of times, and I know you and I had a discussion during the week where you had mentioned that one of the individuals that spoke about, how do humans, man and wife, do they interact on the astral plane? And I guess what people have to understand is your soul business your soul is not about the business of what your human thoughts are about, or your human survival is about. Your soul has a whole nother agenda. So when the soul is outside of the body or on the astral plane, it's all about God's business.
Yeah, it's all about your higher purpose, or your higher self. And honestly, as much as your human 3D consciousness likes to take control of everything, right, it is not always appropriate for it to do so.